You've just landed in a vibrant Spanish-speaking city, sun warming your face, and you feel ready to dive into the local culture with your freshly learned phrases. You step into a bustling cafe, order your coffee, and when the barista hands it over, you confidently say, "No problema," thinking you've nailed the casual, friendly exchange. Here's the catch. While everyone understands "no problema," it's one of those authentic Spanish phrases that locals almost never use in that context. Imagine the barista, after handing you your delicious café con leche, says "gracias," and you respond with a bright "no problema." To their ear, it sounds a little clunky, a direct English translation that misses the natural rhythm of their language. They'd expect to hear "de nada," which smoothly translates to "you're welcome," or literally, "of nothing." "No problema" often carries a slightly different undertone, perhaps a more literal assurance that a difficulty has been overcome, not just a casual thank you. It's a subtle difference, but it's the kind of linguistic shadow that sets an experienced traveler apart. This isn't just about one phrase, though. What about when you're trying to express gratitude for something specific? Many of us instinctively reach for "gracias para," directly translating "thanks for" into Spanish. But just like "no problema" for "you're welcome," "gracias para" is a phrase you'll almost never hear a native speaker utter. The correct preposition here is por, making it "gracias por." The distinction between por and para is famously tricky for English speakers. But think of it this way. Por often implies the reason or the exchange, while para implies a destination or a purpose. So, "gracias por la ayuda," thanks for the help, or "gracias por venir," thanks for coming, hits the mark every time. Getting this right isn't just about grammar. It's about flowing with the language, not against it. Now, let's talk about a classic, truly cringeworthy mistake. Estoy caliente. You're walking around in the middle of summer, the heat is sweltering, and you want to tell your new friends, "I'm hot." So, you announce, "Estoy caliente." The immediate awkward silence, or perhaps a ripple of suppressed giggles, should be your first clue. While literally translating as "I am hot," in Spanish, estar caliente almost exclusively means to be sexually aroused or horny. Suddenly, your innocent complaint about the weather has turned into a very personal, very explicit declaration. The phrase you actually want to use is "tengo calor," which literally means "I have heat." Or, to describe the weather, you'd say "hace calor," meaning "it makes heat." It's a hilarious, humbling lesson in why direct translations can be dangerous. Have you ever accidentally used a phrase that meant something entirely different from what you intended? Tell us your most embarrassing language mix-up in the comments below. Speaking of common phrases, how often do you find yourself defaulting to "muy bien" when someone asks how you are? Hola, ¿qué tal? Muy bien. While perfectly understandable and not technically wrong, relying solely on "muy bien" can make you sound a little stiff or even overly formal, depending on the context. It's like always saying "very good" instead of "I'm doing well," "great," "not bad," or "can't complain." Locals have a much wider palette for everyday greetings. You'll hear bien, todo bien, fenomenal, genial, or, in some places like Costa Rica, the wonderfully expressive pura vida. Varying your responses makes you sound less like you're reciting from a textbook and more like you're genuinely part of the conversation. Then there's the subtle art of asking a question. Many English speakers will try to soften a direct question by saying, "I want to ask," which in Spanish might become "quiero preguntar." Again, it's grammatically correct, but it sounds a little clunky in common conversation.
It's like you're announcing your intention to ask, rather than just, well, asking. Most Spanish speakers would simply jump straight to the question, perhaps with a polite "puedo preguntar," "can I ask?" if they feel they need permission, or often just dive right in with the question itself. Una pregunta. A question is another perfectly natural way to preface what you're about to say without making a big production out of it. It's about conversational efficiency, something native speakers instinctively grasp. Here's another subtle but important point for sounding natural: the silent yo. We're used to always saying I need, so it's common for English speakers to translate this directly as yo necesito. But in Spanish, because the verb ending necesito already clearly indicates I, the yo is often omitted, especially in casual conversation. Saying necesito immediately sounds more fluid and less stilted. Think of it like this: if you already know who's performing the action, why bother repeating it? This pronoun dropping is a hallmark of sounding like you've really embraced the language, not just translated it. Now, a phrase that carries significant emotional weight: te amo versus te quiero. Both can translate to I love you, but their usage is profoundly different. Te amo is reserved for deep, romantic love, the kind you express to a spouse, a long-term partner, or perhaps a child. It's intense. If you tell a friend te amo, you might get some very confused and potentially very uncomfortable reactions. For friends, family members, or even a beloved pet, the phrase you want is te quiero. It expresses affection, care, and love without the romantic connotations. And for loving objects or experiences like I love this food or I love this city, you'd use me encanta, meaning it delights me. If you're finding these insights helpful for your next trip, don't forget to hit that like button. It tells us you want more language deep dives. Another phrase that often goes awry when applied to people is es muy difícil. You might want to say, he's a very difficult person, perhaps referring to someone with a challenging personality. But in Spanish, difícil primarily describes tasks or situations. Saying es muy difícil about a person can sound like they are literally hard to handle, or perhaps even imply they are hard to understand physically. It's not how you describe a person's temperament. Instead, you'd be more likely to say es complicado, he's complicated, or tiene un carácter difícil, he has a difficult character. It's a reminder that language isn't just about word-for-word translation, but understanding the cultural and emotional weight each word carries. Consider the simple act of taking a photograph. In English, we take a photo. So naturally, many learners will say tomar una foto. And while technically correct and understood, in many Spanish-speaking regions, especially in informal settings, you'll hear sacar una foto much more frequently. It's a subtle regional preference, but picking up on these nuances makes your Spanish feel more lived in. It's the difference between speaking textbook Spanish and speaking the Spanish that flows naturally in the streets and homes of a place. Finally, let's talk about goodbyes. The ubiquitous adios. It's one of the first Spanish words most of us learn, and it means goodbye. But much like no problema, it's often used sparingly by locals in casual everyday interactions. Adios can carry a sense of finality, like a long-term farewell. For a quick departure from a shop, a cafe, or even friends you expect to see soon, you'll hear hasta luego, until later, ciao, or nos vemos far more often. These softer goodbyes acknowledge ongoing relationships and future encounters, making your interactions feel warmer and more natural.
If you're planning a trip to a Spanish-speaking country soon, subscribe to Layover Lingo for more tips that will help you sound less like a tourist and more like a local. Ultimately, mastering a language isn't just about memorizing vocabulary or verb conjugations. It's about stepping into a different cultural skin, understanding the unwritten rules, the subtle connotations, and the natural rhythms of conversation. These seemingly small shifts in phrasing can profoundly impact how you connect with people and how deeply you experience a new culture. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. They're your best teachers. Embrace the journey of discovery, listen closely to the locals, and you'll find yourself speaking not just Spanish, but living Spanish.